What is up, Planeswalkers? Theorix6 back with some more upgraded new player decks, and today we're doing black-green. And the black-green base deck is essentially just Explorer. Just a note, as always, if you don't really want to look at the deck tech for this specific deck, you can find the timestamp to the matches down in the description below. Now, anyway, the black-green deck is essentially just an Explorer deck that kind of wants to play some decent creatures, kill some of your opponent's creatures, and I guess Rampant Pelaka Worm? That's kind of its high-end card. And I have played Black-Green Explorer as a budget deck on the channel before, but it wasn't the exact same as this because I did allow myself to run, to put in additional rares, whereas this one is purely you take the base deck and you just upgrade it with nothing but commons and uncommons. So the budget deck had a budget of some rares, this one doesn't, so they're a little bit different, but they do function on the same axis. Now, an Explorer deck is not an aggro deck, it's not a control deck, it's essentially a mid-range deck that wants to kill your opponent relatively quickly. So what it wants to do is play out a few good creatures and kill your opponent's creatures and win through essentially chip damage, just attacking in for 2, 3, 4 damage at a time. The center stone card is Wildgrowth Walker, and it's really funny because I'm just realizing there's a center stone in that in that art. It's a jade thing, but this is a fantastic card against aggro especially, but even against control it's fine because you're getting additional value out of your explorers. So the way Explorer works is, there we go, you reveal the top card of your library, and you can either choose to put it in your hand if it's a land, or put a 1/1 counter on it, and you get to decide if it stays on top, which means you're going to draw it next time you draw, or put it into your graveyard. Now, one really fun thing about this is that it plays really nicely with the undergrowth mechanic that's coming out in Guild of Ravnica, as well as kind of the, goodness me, Jumpstart. I still hate the name of that mechanic. So theoretically, in the future, this might jump into 3 colors if you want to get some value out of Jumpstart, but the Explorer mechanic in general is just very strong. It allows you to either get some kind of card draw by getting lands, or it allows you to set up your draws really well while making your creatures better. So back to Wildgrowth Walker, this card is fantastic against aggro. It's a 2-mana 1/3, which means it blocks very, very well. And if this triggers once, you're getting 3 life. And 3 life plus a blocker against aggro is so good. If this triggers twice against aggro, your chances of winning are so high, unless they are able to just play like fatty after fatty, like Chandra into Glorybringer into like Glorybringer, right? Something like that. Just the ability to mitigate a lot of this fast burst damage is very, very strong. And against control, while obviously not as strong because the life gain is essentially not going to matter. Whenever you do get to Explorer, you get a creature that's a little bit bigger. Essentially, if you play a Wildgrowth Walker on 2 and Explorer on 3, you're getting kind of 1 point of haste, which is very nice. The card that you really want to see against control is Merfolk Branchwalker. Now, you might say, Merfolk Branchwalker is a really basic Explorer card, except it starts off as a 2/1, and if you don't get a land, it becomes a 3/2, and that's a relatively strong body early on against control decks. If you're able to force them to use removal on your 2-mana guys, especially early on, then you're in a position where you can get your Jadelight Rangers. Obviously, I don't have a full set of them right now, but where you can get your Jadelight Rangers to kind of just keep kicking their faces in. Obviously, against aggro, this isn't as good because it does trade down a lot of the 1-drops at 2 power, so this does die to those. But Seekers Squire is kind of the answer to that. Seekers Squire is the aggro Explorer card. This is the one that you want against aggro because it'll become a 2/3. Obviously, it's a little weaker against control just because 2 is a less power than 3, but it's still absolutely fine. I'm going to switch back over to my 1s to talk about those for a little bit, and I'll first start with Duress. Now, as I said, this deck does really, really well against aggro, so kind of where it struggles is against control. So we have a couple Duress in the main deck just to kind of make sure we are able to pressure control and not overcommit, make sure we know what our opponent has answers for, and things like that. So I had this at 2 right now. 3 is fine. I wouldn't go up to 4, but in a best of 1 format like this, which is where I suggest you stay until you're more comfortable with the meta, 2 Duress is absolutely reasonable. We're running 3 Fatal Push, and I do try not to put in cards that are going to be rotating soon. However, Fatal Push is just so strong in this type of deck where we don't have 1-drop creatures, and we still want to make sure that our aggro opponents aren't going completely under us. Fatal Push also has the added benefit of killing off 3 and 4 CMC creatures if something of ours die, and that is going to happen relatively frequently since our creatures don't get super large. So it's just a very strong card. Luckily, the Undergrowth kill spell coming out in Guild of Ravnica can probably do a relatively good job of replacing it, since we do run a decent number of creatures. Blossoming Defense can help in both the aggro and control matchup. Against control, you can hold up Blossoming Defense and make sure our creatures don't die to removal spells, while potentially getting in for extra damage. Usually they're going to try and kill our creatures during our turn, which means that we'll be able to attack for a larger sum of damage. And of course, against aggro, we're going to be able to buff up our creatures to be a little bit beefier, to potentially survive and live to fight another day. So jumping all the way over to 3s, we have a single Jadelight Ranger because that's essentially the best explore card there is right now, but it's rare and the deck only came with 1. I definitely suggest going all the way up to 4 as soon as you can, because this card is just so strong. The deck filtering is great. If you have to, if you have 2 lanes on top, those are 2 lanes you're not going to draw in 2 turns, like over the course of 2 turns. It means you're going to have them immediately. So even as just a 3-mana 2/1 that draws 2 cards, fantastic. The range that this card lives in is all good, right? Even the worst case scenario, you're making it so you're not drawing 2 lands for 2 turns in a row. So very strong card, definitely suggest getting it. While I don't have it, I do have Thrashing Brontodon, and the only reason really is answers to random nonsense that I don't know what I'll experience, right? A lot of the times when you're lower in the ladder, you're going to see cards that are not going to be played as often, things that you can't necessarily predict. So having a catch most answer like Thrashing Brontodon is very nice. Additionally, it's a 3-mana 3/4, very strong body against both aggro and control, so it's absolutely reasonable to have. If you do end up going into best of 3, this is a sideboard card, and you really want to make sure you have the Rangers as your main 4s. Murder and Ravenous Chupacabra are in here because the deck doesn't have rares, right? So you don't have Vraska's Contempt. So these are the kill spells that I am able to use. Obviously, these don't target planeswalkers, but theoretically, we should have enough creature-based pressure to deal with planeswalkers just with what we have. My suggestion is try to get to 4 Vraska's Contempt in this deck. It's very, very strong, very important. And that does leave you with 2 other slots, and those 2 slots really are kind of up to you. If you need more artifact enchantment removal, keep the Thrashing Brontodons in if you're able to get up to 4 Jadelights. If you need to, you can start adding more things like Emperor's Vanguard, other like 5-drops or something that are just like strong black or green cards. Heck, you could even throw back in the Pelakka Worm, throw in maybe Shadowed Caravel. I don't currently play because I don't like it, but if you do have the premium removal, then it's fine to take out all of these. I definitely suggest taking out Murders first, and maybe having a 2-4 split of Ravenous and Vraska's, because Chupacabra comes with a body as well, and being able to play this as instant speed doesn't really matter all of that much, and playing it for 1 more mana also doesn't matter. So another kind of piece of removal is Lurking Chupacabra. It's a bigger body than Ravenous Chupacabra, and it doesn't cost 2 black pips, which almost never matters, but you get some incidental value against other creature decks. If you're able to shrink something important of theirs, then you are better able to attack for lethal potentially. Against decks that have 2-mana lords, you're able to, as long as they only have 1, you're able to kill that lord. Against Sapperlings or Merfolk or Vampire or something like that. It -2/-2 is perfect to take those out. So it's a very strong card. And if you're able to, like, say, Jadelight Ranger the turn after you Lurking Chupacabra, that's -4/-4 to a creature. And that's very strong. And you could even do this post-combat, where you attack and kind of force your opponent into a situation where they have to block, they block, and then you get rid of their creature that has survived. So very strong card. Definitely suggest running the full 4. It gets better with things like Path of Discovery, where your creatures that explore already are going to explore again, explore stacks. So theoretically, if you have both of these out, a Seekers Squire is going to explore 3 times, and that is utterly perfection. We really go through our deck very quickly with this deck, just because of the fact that we are exploring so often. And it's just kind of a card that helps out in the top end of the deck, making it so our cards that are less strong, like Seekers Squire, can do a little bit more work. And then, of course, we do run a single Emperor's Vanguard. It's just a high-end explore card that triggers on dealing damage. So it's a little weak though. Its stats, it's a 4-mana 4/3, so it can trade down technically all the way down to 2. If our opponent has a triggered Merfolk Branchwalker, it trades with our 4-drop, and that's not great. I don't know if this card should have more play. I personally haven't seen a need for it. Frankly, if you want to throw in something like a Vraska Relic Seeker, that's that's probably better. If you're looking for a high end to go in this deck, I definitely suggest something like Vraska. Vraska is very strong, and she's like essentially guaranteed value. Moving over to the lands, we have 24. You could run 23 if you really want to. Since we're exploring so often, we're going to get a ton of mana, and you can flood out sometimes, which is why it's nice to have Memorial to Folly and Memorial to Unity. Folly is almost always going to try and get back Chupacabra at the point in the game where you need it, and Unity is almost always going to get back, well, frankly, Chupacabra or Chupacabra. A lot of good Chupacabras in this. And then, of course, we have some enters tapped lands, Woodland Cemetery, because we have it. As always, try and get the rare land up to 4, and some mana. The Foul Orchard is fine in this specific deck because we aren't trying to play 1-drops really early on. Even Duress, you don't need to play on turn 1. Just really quickly, blitzing through the sideboard here because I feel I've talked a little bit too much. The reason we don't play any of these cards is either because they don't fit with this deck, like Golden Demise or Jungle Creeper, or they're just not as good as some other options like Eviscerate. Eviscerate is just a worse Ravenous Chupacabra, essentially. Tishana's Wayfinder, we would rather have Jadelight Rangers, and even then, we would rather have Flashing Bronodon and Murder just to make sure we can stay in the game. So that's essentially why we aren't playing any of these. Since I talked a little bit too long about the main deck, I'm going to essentially skip over talking about the individual cards, but you'll see that even some of the rares we took out, like Pelakka Worm, it's not worth running a random card. Yeah, it's not worth running a random card, even though it's very strong. So, hop into a game as I take a swig of water. Going against Ishan's Shade. I cannot pronounce that, but real old Magic card. Going first, very nice. Don't have a forest, which is really bad. Just because we want to be able to play our cards. That said, we do have removal into removal. So if we're up against an aggro deck, we're probably fine. If we're against a control deck, though, we don't have like anything going on. Because these two cards are essentially dead against control. And we're not guaranteed to play these cards. I think so. One of the things that's very difficult to learn to do very well is mulliganing, and I think this is a hand you should mulligan. You really want to be on 3 lands in a deck like this. Even though you have 2 potential playables, it's just not playable in like half the matchup. So I think that's a mulligan. It's very unfortunate, but I think it's just better. And this hand's fine. We have both colors of mana, 3. We do have a Duress, so against control we do have some play, and two cards that can get us back into the game, so this is fine. And we have a Walker, so. We will play this Swamp here. You don't need to play Duress super early. The thing is, depending on what exactly is going on, I don't know when I would sequence it, right? If next turn I'm going to play Walker, the turn after I might end up playing Murder. I might not, but I might. And then the following turn is probably Chupacabra, so I think I will go ahead and do this now. Interesting. So this is a white-black deck that has a decent amount of enchantment-based removal. That said, Ixalan's Binding is the only one that forces us to not be able to play things again, so we'll go with that. Gonna play Martyr of Dusk on turn 2. And we could kill it, but that's just not efficient, unfortunately. Ooh, and they drew the Fatal Push. Unfortunate. And I'll go with the Martyr, yep. Oh, and we did get a Merfolk, so that's very nice. And we're going to play this first here, because since we don't have anything to play now, if we draw one of our Foul Orchards, we're going to want to play it now. We got a Chup. We have a Chup in hand. Our opponent, we know 3 of their cards aren't creatures, so I'm relatively confident in just throwing this in the graveyard, because we're probably going to want to draw a better card. Or just another land so we can play the Chupacabra that we have in hand. So, yep, decide not to attack. I think that's a strong play. I guess we'll Fatal Push this here. It's not great. The problem is I don't actually know what my opponent's doing. I do want to start attacking them just because they do have Cage. And I don't know necessarily what my opponent's on. They could be on Vampires. But, I mean, that's a lot of control. early on. I'll pass now. They might play something that is more important to push, so that's why I decided to make that decision. It looks like our opponent missed a land as well, so that's good for me. I will push this now. So we both missed land. That said, I'm not going to be surprised if my opponent has something like Seal Away. Oh, look, it's a Seekers Squire. Okay, let's see what's on top. Duress. So the thing is, what we would Duress is likely going to be one of these anyway. They're stumbling on mana just like we are. So I think I'm just gonna chuck it away. At this point, I'm able to start attacking, and hopefully I can pressure them enough that the 2 cages aren't gonna be able to do it for him. Yep, the Seal Away, just as expected. So it looks like this is an enchantment-based control deck. So yeah, even if we kept the Duress on top, right, we would see nothing but a bunch of control elements, and I think that would be a losing battle. And it looks like they're gonna get rid of Seekers Squire too. Wow, definitely some sort of black-white control deck. Very interesting. Yeah, they're 4th. They'll attack for 1. That is unfortunate. 24 lands in the deck. Kept a 3-lander and explored a couple times. Wow, that's really unfortunate. I'm gonna murder this, I think. Yeah, I'm gonna murder this. Really want the land here, and we did get it. That said, I think I want to wait until my opponent rebuys this. We're not going to be winning in a super aggressive race here. My opponent has an answer to this. Killing this is not important. So yeah, I wanted to wait till they embalmed to make sure I can get rid of it. So. Yep. All right, got a Path to Discovery. This only gains life, right? So since that only gains them life, and I essentially have already decided that we're not going to win a life race. Does this hit just creatures? Nope, non-life permanents. Yeah, so that's going to hit that. Technically, I should have done that first, but we'll go ahead and Chupacabra this now. If we had another green source, we'd be able to Jadelight. If we had a 3rd green source, we could Jadelight and hold up Blossoming Defense, but I assume that they're going to take this out too. Nope, they just play an Angel. Yeah, very, very unfortunate on our part that we weren't able to draw very well. I think I just have to no blocks at this specific point. Yeah, have to play the Branchwalker. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I made any like objectively bad plays. Unfortunately, I think I just kind of drew poorly. Yeah. And here I'm just gonna Blossoming Defense on this. They should have waited. Also, that wouldn't have worked. Yeah, that wouldn't even have worked. Because this is 4, and nothing of theirs has died yet. Interesting. Unfortunately, though, we're at 9 and they have a flyer. So. We're playing a Renegade map. Yeah, I don't know what's happening. I'll play Jadelight. See what I get. Lands and... Oh, 2 lands. That is unfortunate. Of course, now we're getting lands when we don't need them. I'll attack. Another Seal Away. That's fine. The reason it's fine is I don't think I would have been able to do anything about it anyway. Hit Stockpile. Move your end step. Permanent control left the battlefield. Make a servo. Okay, I guess. Yeah, so this is a black-white token control. I've seen it before, but not in some time. It's not not a terrible card. Problem is, just gonna get higher matches. Yep. Thrashing Bronodon, still a good pickup here. I can Bronodon the seal away. Yeah, and we just flood out at the worst time. If we had drawn that differently, where we drew lands at first and then spells that we could cast, it would have been different. But you know, we kept a 3-land hand and just didn't draw lands for a while. It happens. It happens to the best of them. Not that I'm the best of them. Going up against Velvet Voice. Well, you're playing Liliana, so can't disagree there. And we're going second. And definitely be aware that the deck does have a better matchup against control, or sorry, against aggro than they do control. This is an absolutely fine hand. Have a potential 1 if our opponent's on control. Have a 2, have a 3, have a 4. 3 lands. As long as we draw some more, we should be fine. Opponent did mulligan, very important. A duress against a mulliganed opponent is a lot stronger, just because they're on even fewer cards. Ooh, mulligan to 5, wow. If our opponent plays a land that kind of suggests that they're control, I think I'm easy turn 1 duressing. And they bottomed, wow. Well, I would have preferred to gotten rid of that early. That said, I think I still duress to see what they're on. 3 cards, it's very unlikely I'm going to hit. I don't know. I'm legitimately not sure. Because the sequence I could do is Foul Orchard, turn 2 Wildgrowth into turn 3 Seekers Squire Duress. Opponent only has 3 cards, which means the likeliness that they have a specific card I can hit, because remember, it can't be a creature, is lower. And they already played into Johnny's Welcome. So it indicates to me that they're probably on the Lifegain deck. I will just play Foul Orchard. It kind of indicates to me that they're going to be on the white Lifegain creature deck with the Johnny's Pridemates. Ooh, is that no lands? Ooh, yeah, okay. So here we're going to go ahead and play the Walker. Yeah. The fact that they stumbled on mana is unfortunate for my opponent. It looks like maybe they have another thing to do. Drew a land, okay. Another Vanguard. Okay. So now I will go ahead and Seekers Squire. Yeah, I'll do this first, just to see what I get. Fatal Push is fantastic. We're going to keep that on top, because this type of deck, it plays a Johnny's. Ooh, Excellence Bonding is a real nice pick up there, and we're going to go ahead and attack. Yeah, very unfortunate for our opponent. Essentially nothing that they can do now. This Fatal Push is very strong, and the fact that we're going to be able to play a path is very good. Of note, we will need to sacrifice something, essentially, in order to get rid of this War Leader, if they do end up playing land War Leader, and that looks like what they do. So here, I mean, I can attack with Seekers Squire. See if yep, they decide to attack here. Ooh, Chupacabra is nice. So I'll play Forest. I will Chupacabra. And it will explore, so I get to kill one of those. And I will keep that on top because I would like to keep exploring. I'll get rid of that. That's fantastic. My opponent should know I have Fatal Push in my hand. So essentially there's no reason for them to attack here. Or to block this. I mean, they should see that I have Fatal Push up. They should know that it's in my hand. They still decide to block it. I mean, I think that's fine. They do get rid of one of my cards, but I don't know if it was worth it. Like, taking 2 there, I guess they realized they couldn't really attack either, because I wouldn't even need to use Fatal Push. I would just double block. Yeah, a little unfortunate. My opponent mulliganed all the way down to 5 and had to bottom their scry. So even though they got a Pride Mate, it's going to be a 3/3. It doesn't necessarily matter, because I can kill this with Branchwalker, and I just have strong defense here. So we'll go ahead and play Branchwalker, see what we get. I'm doing that before we play the lands. Ooh, I did forget that it both of these triggers. So we're going to keep that on top of the library. Yeah. So this would have double triggered. We would have been able to kill this, and then we had murder for anything they played after that. So kind of a done deal. Very unfortunate for my opponent. Do we have time for another one? We barely have time, but we'll do it. I'm actually going to be recording 3 games today. Oh, I actually recorded Momir earlier, going against Junker. I totally forgot that was a thing, so I recorded that. I'm going to record this, and then the other 2 new player decks. And I'm going to spread that out over the course of the week, just because I have exams. So today's like the only day that I'm sure I'm going to have time. So I just want to make sure that I'm able to study properly, but still give you guys exam stuff. Ooh, we don't have black now. Our opponent did mulligan. We have Wildgrowth Walker plus Path of Discovery. Oh, I'm so greedy. We're also going second, and we have 3 lands. I'm going to keep it. It's a different hand. It's a different hand. Our opponent mulliganed to 6, and we have a guaranteed turn 2 play and probably a turn 4. They bottomed. That's very good for us. All right, it's green. This is probably just us dead. Mono green is just preys on a kind of low end mid-range decks. Song of Fraley. Okay. Might not be mono green. Might be like token or something. So I can play Wildgrowth Walker. Or I can play this. I think this might be a better play. I don't know. Because I could play it on 3. Then I like almost guaranteed don't play that either. I think this is fine, especially since my opponent could get something large out, and I want to be able to murder. That said, they didn't do that, so we will go ahead and play this land. So this is going to become a 2/2 with double strike. So Seekers Squire is the best bet. Oh, it gets indestructible that turn. Which means I'm not going to be blocking anyway. So I'm just going to Wildgrowth Walker. So I'm not going to be blocking this anyway. I might block this, depending on what my opponent does. Let's see what they end up doing. Shalai is strong. Nope, no blocks. This dies. Okay, so we can Path of Discovery, or we can Branch Walk and Seekers Squire. And honestly, I think we Branch Walk Seekers Squire. We still have Chupacabra after it, but we need to make sure we can play the Chupacabra. And Path of Discovery is just too low of a tempo play here. So yeah, I would rather have this have counters on it, because we can block this, so this is fine doing like this. Okay, so I'm gonna keep that on. Maybe I don't. So the idea was if I drew a land with this, then Seeker Squire is more likely to have the counter put on it. But now I know that Seeker Squire might have the counter put on it. I'm not sure I want to do this. Then again, this is going to become... Oh, this is going to become large enough to survive anyway. So, you know, let's graveyard that. I totally forgot that this is going to get bigger, so that's fine. And let's keep that on top. Sure. Yeah. So now we were able to block this pretty easily. We can block this pretty easily. So Shalai is the only one getting in our way. Ooh, okay. That is potentially horrible. Let's see what our opponent does here. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Hitting me, making it hurt. I guess I'll Path of Discovery here. Yeah, I can Path of Discovery here, and then next turn I can Chupacabra, killing one of these. So that seems fine. I'm not gonna attack. My opponent's plan is to Authority during the big turn. Oh right, I actually can't kill one of these. Yeah, that was a little potential misplay on my part. Duress. There's nothing in their hand. Chupacabra does Explore. It also is a body, so I think this is a better play right now than Path. So I'm gonna go with it. Yeah, I need the body at this point just to kind of make sure I don't completely die. Essentially the trigger is kind of wasted. Got another Forest. Forest doesn't actually matter. Oh, my opponent can give them a counter at the end of the turn. Do they notice that? No, my opponent could have absolutely given all of their creatures a counter. That seems weird. My opponent could have authority'd there. Yeah, that's very strange. I don't know what's in their hands, but I would rather hold up Blossoming Defense. So we do need another black source. As soon as we get that, we can start mowing down their creatures. Shalai kills us in 3 turns. Yeah, with Wildgrowth Walker, one creature. The ability to play 1 creature is very helpful. Sure, that's fine. That doesn't really matter too much. I would end up chumping with Merfolk Branchwalker. All right, how about no? Let's do that one. Yep. Ow. I need like any creature or a untapped swamp. There we go. Very helpful. So I'm gonna do this 3 times. Cool. I don't know if my opponent needed to concede there, but we were able to set up a real strong position thanks to our Path as well as our Chupacabra. Very, very fantastic. No, we're not going to play another game. Calm down. We'll open a pack. We're going to save that pack for our next game. And we got another mythic. Very, very awesome. Yeah, I mean, Explorer is really good. I think it's going to get better with Golgari coming up in Guilds of Ravnica. I'm really looking forward to some of the really cool mid-rangey stuff we can do with that. But yeah, I would like to thank Easy Mode, Chris, Dizzyfam, Radberry, new patron, Daniel, Flower Child, and Chow083 for their support on Patreon. Their Patreon allows me to keep throwing packs at the game, making sure I'm able to play all of your viewer requests. I'm hoping to get a Discord up at some point. I tried this weekend, but it was finicky. Where you guys will be able to chat with me about specific decks and stuff. But if you guys would like to join them in support of me and the channel, you can find a link to that in the description below. I hope you guys like this one. If you did, go ahead and tap that like button, add a subscription to Maniple, and cast a comment to the comment section down below. And until next time, all will be one.